So you have all handed in your written elements, so that is the personal study plan, the 1,000 to 3,000 word essay, and also the attached bibliography. So what we do now is we have to present it very similar to that as how you would present a critical link, and that's the best way to view this. It's like an extended critical link. So first things first, you need to decide whether this book is going to be printed or it's going to be digital. Now, for me, I would always advise for you to plan for it to be printed, because you never know, you might decide in a couple of months' time to add this to your portfolio. So the first things first, you need to make sure that you set up your Pages document correctly. So you do this by just checking the dimensions on the website that you use. Now, Bonus Print is a really good website for printed books. Photobox, Instant Print, there are lots of different firms. Bonus Print tends to be the best one, especially when it comes to deals. But first things first, you need to make sure that you set the dimensions out correctly. Now, unfortunately, you are unable to do this in the iCloud version of Pages. So you'll need to do this on the Pages at college and then save this as a document in your iCloud. That will then enable you to open that up and work on it in iCloud Pages. So as you can see, you just go to Page Setup, type in the dimensions. So obviously it's in millimeters here. So I'm doing a 14 centimeter squared book. In terms of the printable area, we're just going to put 0 and then click OK. And then that will set up your document to the right dimensions. Make sure as well that you go to convert page layout. It's very important. It enables a lot more of the design features embedded in Pages. When designing your booklet, make sure that you keep content around a centimetre, depending on the size of the book. So in this case, with a 14 centimetre book, I'd keep it a centimetre away from the edges. So what I mean is text boxes, images, because what you want to try and avoid is clipping. That's where they might, when they come to trim the book, they might cut some parts of your text off or your image off. So just be wary to keep things 1 centimetre in from all the sides of the book. Remember to think about your kerning and your tracking. You know, think very carefully about the typefaces that you're selecting in this. Make sure it's appropriate to the content. If you're unsure, please speak to your teacher about this. Again, make sure if you have any issues, as you can see here, it's overlapping. If you make sure you go to Arrange, and then just make sure you click on None, so the text wrap, and then you won't have that issue. So watch the clipping. So whatever you do, that's way too close to the edge, you can see here. So just make sure that you move that in. And again, it's around a centimetre. To be sure, I'd go to about 15 mil or even 20 mil. The next tip really is to watch for the size of the body of text. So obviously the whole essay's got to go into this booklet. So just make sure body of text should never be any bigger than 11 point ever. If it is that you're putting the body text in at like size 16, size 18, that's way too big. To put it into context, newspapers and magazines tend to run at about 0.9, sometimes 8. So yeah, 11, the body of text should never be bigger than 11. And remember to always justify your text boxes. It really does give a nice finish to the page. Now, in the photography and also in all the other subject areas, you may find that you'd like to add some diagrams to the images that you're analysing. It's something that we do often within the photography, and really it's sort of picking up on some of those compositional ideas that are embedded in the work. So I'm just going to show you some different examples and that you can apply to your diagrams. Just watch out for pixelation. That's why I've zoomed in. If you have a look, make sure that the image that you're using isn't pixelated. The last thing you want to do is spend 15, 20 quid on a book and the images all come out pixelated. So just make sure you zoom in and check that. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to create colour swatches, because the colour images of Martin Parr, the colour within them is quite significant. So we're just going to pull some of those colours out. So click on the spectrum, click on the little pipette, and then from there you can pick out some of those colours in the composition. Next, we're going to add some diagrams. Just go to Shapes. Now I'm just going to add a quotation page. I always find it easier when designing sort of for editorial design, I tend to design about 4 or 5 pages that I then repeat. So in this case, you can see I have a title page, I then have some text, I then have a diagram, and then in this case, I'm just going to put a quote from Martin Parr that's included in my written piece. So by doing this, you would then repeat it. So then after this page, I may put another page for that's the text, and then maybe put another diagram. Now, when it comes to exporting your piece, so roughly your book will be around, say, 20 to 24 pages long. For those of you that are having it printed, I think the minimum is 20 pages. And if it is that you're using someone like Bonus Print, I think the minimum they print is 24 pages, which also include the front and back cover. So we need to make sure that when you're exporting it from Pages, if it is that you're doing it in the iCloud, it's just really simple. You just go to the little tool at the top that looks like a spanner. You click on that and then you can download a PDF version from it. But it's really important to make sure that when you're exporting it, that you go to image quality and best. That is very, very important, or else the images will appear pixelated if you don't do this. Now, for those of you who are thinking about having a digital version of this. We will be asking you to add this to your website if you have one. And there's a great website called issuu.com, and that allows you to publish your books digitally. I'll put the link on the website so you can have a look at this. It's free to do, and you can then add the link to your website. Other than that, if it is that you are putting your book onto the website, you'll have to export them as JPEGs. So what we'll do is we will do this when we come back after Christmas. I hope this has been helpful. Again, I would advise that you go back and watch the introduction to layout again if it is that you're still a little bit unsure with editorial design. And if you have any questions, just ask your teacher.